The regular meeting of the Southern Shores Town Council for May the 7th, 2014 is now in order. I would remind you to sign up on the comment or the public comment page in the back of the room if you haven't already done so, if you wish to speak tonight. I'd ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please join in a moment of silence. Thank you. Before I ask council to approve the agenda, this evening's agenda, I would like to just make a couple of quick comments about an event that took place this last weekend. There was a 5K run. I'll get the right name in just a second because I went there. And I think I walked 4K to get to the 5K run, which was pretty hard on an old guy, let me tell you. The first flight, 5K, was held this past Saturday at the Wright Memorial. And the town of Southern Shores had 10 participants in that event. They ran something called the Couch to 5K. It's an annual local government competition sponsored by the Outer Banks Hospital within this 5K, first flight 5K. I'm really proud of our group. We had 10 participants from our town staff, including Bonnie. Well, I'll just read the list off to you, and you'll know who they were. Lieutenant Paul Terry, Sergeant Brad Eilert, Corporal Darrell Brickhouse, Officer Tracy Mann, Officer Jerry Hemmelwright, Officer Matt Cook, Officer Eddie McKeever, Jennifer Couture, Bonnie Swain, and Peter Rasco. And we, I think, had the greatest participation of any community, including Dare County. Amy? Good, glad you're here. Amy Montgomery is here from is the Director of Community Outreach for the Outer Banks Hospital, and she is here to talk to us a little bit about how well we did, I think, this last weekend. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. You know, when you come down the bypass, you hit all the red, not all the green. I hit all the red, so thank you for your patience.
That's no problem.
I am here to present the traveling plaque. When I picked it up from the town of Kitty Hawk this afternoon, they were sad to let it go. But shall I present this?
You should. We're going to come down here and let you present it to the people that are here.
Let me make a few remarks first.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank you all for your participation. I know, Bonnie, thank you. We have a little wellness committee that is made up of wellness representatives from all the towns who help pick the events that we do and help choose the activities. And so, Bonnie, thank you for your leadership on that wellness committee. I just wanted to say a couple of things about the Outer Banks Hospital, if you will, for just a moment. We are a nonprofit hospital that is here in our community, built to meet the needs of our community. In our mission statement, including providing the highest quality health care, also in our mission statement is promoting community wellness, and that's why we do what we do with the Couch to 5K. My role at the Outer Banks Hospital as Director of Community Outreach is to promote community wellness by all kinds of partnerships, and this is one example where we provide the opportunity for town and county employees to get out and participate in a healthy activity, and we are promoting healthy lifestyles by doing so. So I have the honor of doing that for the Outer Banks Hospital. I did say we're a nonprofit organization, but that doesn't mean that we're not top-notch. We are. I want to brag a little bit about the hospital. We are one in 405 hospitals in the nation last year to receive the Joint Commission's Top Performer Award, which is the highest honor given to only 14% of hospitals nationwide. I don't know if any of you in the room knew that about your local community hospital. We are 1 in 13 hospitals in the state of North Carolina to receive that recognition last year. We report our safety statistics every morning at Safety Huddle. We've now been over 600 days without any serious safety events at the Outer Banks Hospital. We're really proud of that. We're also really proud of our giving back to the community. We're top notch. We do provide high quality health care at the Outer Banks Hospital, and it's one reason we're seeing more and more people able to retire here to our community because we're here. But we also give back $4.5 million in charity care last year alone to people in our community who couldn't afford health care. And then I had the opportunity to give back $1.5 million in community services through programs like the Couch to 5K program. Last thing I'll say, many of you are as community leaders, you're interested in economic development. The Outer Banks Hospital, just by being here, invest over $20 million a year in salaries and benefits and jobs for people in our community, and that's a pretty big deal. So just wanted to let you know that as well. You've already named all the people who participated in the Couch to 5K, so I won't repeat that. And it is my pleasure this evening to present this plaque to the town of Southern Shores.
Thank you. Be right down.
I hope I don't have to take it back next year.
They won't bite.
Appreciate it. Did you mention that, thank you, Peter, did you mention that 100% of your employees who registered showed up? Y'all, that's a big deal. Right, right.
Thanks, Amy.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I was really proud of our participants and really proud of our town last Saturday. And when I heard how well we had done yesterday, late today actually, it was even more of a reason for pride. I was just great showing, very impressive. I now would ask council to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April the 1st and April the 15th under the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our town planner is not here tonight, but Mr. Rasko is going to take his place and giving us an overview of what his report would have been.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. The town planner is not here tonight, and he's asked me to give his report for him. For the month of April, you can see that 4 zoning permits were issued, 29 building permits were issued. Of those, 2 were single-family dwellings, 2 additions, 1 remodel, and 24 others, which is other type work. 10 single-family dwellings are currently under construction in the town of Southern Shores, and the total amount of fees collected in April by that department was $8,114.50. The planner did want me to mention that for the comprehensive bicycle and pedestrian plan, the draft plan will be available for public review by August. The consultants are working on the draft plan, and Mr. Mayor, I believe 2 council members, including one which is yourself, are on that committee. So I don't have any comment on the activity other than what the planner has told me at this point.
Anything you'd like to say along that line, Jody?
No, I think you covered it pretty much.
That's moving along pretty well. The bicycle and pedestrian plan is, it's, a lot of it are things we can do at a minimal cost, but some of the more extensive work would involve significant costs. So it's going to be like a do it now, plan for it now to do it forever at some point in the future, but at least get started on the things we can do. It's a good plan. I think you'll be pleased with it when it does come out. Chief Cole. He's also on the committee, I might add.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. I have 2 reports tonight because I wasn't here for the March report. So I'd like to give the March of 2014 report first. Just a quick breakdown. We had roughly 130 more calls for service than we did last year for this year in March. Total call for service is 1,018. Just a couple of the highlights. There was 228 of those were business checks. Another 208 were residence checks. We had 14 mutual aid from other police agency requests. 43 direct traffic, which are mostly the school. And responded to 18 suspicious person calls and another 16 alarms, 81 traffic stops, and 229 extra patrols. Some of the incidents, we had 13 incidents which were involved investigations by the investigator. Officers handed out 36 written citations and another 40 warning citations, and responded to 2 traffic accidents for the month of March. Any questions on that one? April 2014, we were about 30 calls for service under what we were the year before, for a total of 938 calls for service. The business checks, 234, 188 for the residents checks, 1 mutual aid call, 36 direct traffic, suspicious conditions, there were 14. We were busy with alarms, we had 27, and a lot of that is because folks were coming down and opening up their houses and forgot that they had alarm systems in their houses. But they were happy to know they worked also. Officers conducted 82 traffic stops and 129 extra patrols. Some of the breakdowns, the actual incidents or crimes that were reported, there were 20 of them. Officers made 8 arrests. 3 of those were for assault, 2 were drug-related, and 3 were traffic-related, which were DWIs. They handed out 42 citations and another 33 warning citations, 6 ordinance violations. Most of those were regarding parking. And 1 was for camping, believe it or not. They were actually camping on the beach.
Oh.
So, and smoking a doobie at the same time, which really wasn't too smart. Any questions?
One question.
Yes, ma'am.
The simple assaults, is that sort of like a domestic as opposed to
Yeah,
other
actually,
kind of things?
yeah, 2 of those were actually domestic related.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one was an unfounded eventually, but the other 2 were domestics, yes. The only other thing I'd like to do is present you with the Police Department's 2013 annual report, and we'll make it available online within the next couple of days, both for the town's website as well as the police department's. And if you have any questions, come see me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you. It's time for general public comment if someone would like to speak. Do I have a name list? Mr. Bolter, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city staff. My name is Doug Bolter. I'm a property owner of 5 Ocean View Loop in Southern Shores. When you hear 5 Ocean View Loop, some of you may not be surprised to know that I am very pleased to have the circles, both at the top and the bottom of Ocean View Loop, worked on after a number of years of decay of the asphalt due to heavy trucks, trash trucks, septic tank pumpers, appliance delivery trucks, and every developer who comes onto the loop who turns around on one or the other of the circles. It was getting really, really bad, and I appreciate so much the town of Southern Shores doing something about that in terms of the work that's scheduled to be completed this June. I'm also very pleased, and I know other residents and property owners on Ocean View Loop are pleased by the fact that the town of Southern Shores and its contractor have agreed to work very diligently to ensure that residents and guests in June, if that's when the work takes place, or in May, if that's when the work takes place, will be able to access their driveways and the loop itself, and that will be allowed to park on the loop if necessary due to the construction. That's very important to us and certainly to our guests, who would be very displeased if they had to carry all their baggage into the house along with their children and elderly family members. So this is a project that, while has not been completed, looks like from start to finish has been well thought out and is well executed. And on behalf of myself and my wife, and I'm sure most of the other residents who even know about this on Ocean View Loop, thank you very much for a job well done.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I should say we do. Under new business, council, we have 2 things to consider. One is a consideration of our auditor contract. I'm going to let our town manager explain that to us as we go along here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. The finance officer and I tonight present you with the annual contract with the auditor currently working for the town of Southern Shores, Dowdy and Osborne. This is an annual a requirement the local government commission puts on us to actually approve by year the town auditor. Even though they've been contracted for multiple years, this is the contract for the upcoming audit. And you can see it is exactly the same format as years past. And those new to the council, this is the exact boilerplate contract that is used between the town and the Osborne firm, Dowdy and Osborne firm. The contract calls for our complete audit to be done this year. The cost, of course, is cited on page 2, $15,250, plus $1,000 for preparation of the annual financial statements. The audit, of course, incorporates all of the general accounting principles. That is a requirement for her to do, and I'm pleased to present this to you for consideration and just recommend this contract to you so that she can begin the process very shortly for the year.
Any questions, council? Any comments?
The preparation fee, is that a normal or a standard fee there, or is it something that could be, why is it broken out from the rest of from her fees?
You're talking about the
$1,000.
$1,000. Well, that's for actual preparation of the financial statements once she has completed that in the format that she does. I believe I'm saying that right. Is that right, Ms. Finance Officer?
Is there any reason why it's broken out separate from the audit fee? Or is that what's required by the commission?
That, this format of this contract is as required by the LGC, so, the
And it was kind of my understanding that it's broken out because if this was another town, since this is a required form, that may take $2,000 to do their financial statements. She's estimating for ours, it'll be $1,000, so it's just filling out a form.
I guess for my information, understanding it,
Sure.
I need a motion to approve this, the signing of this contract, acceptance of this contract.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion's made and carried. Peter, you want to go through the next proposed budget amendment for the beach stabilization?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on your agenda is recommended budget amendment number 11 for this fiscal year. As a point of explanation, in all the confusion about how much funds towns had on account with their county for beach protection, we actually, it was discovered that the town of Southern Shores had $24,000 more for this fiscal year. Very confusing as to how we calculated all that, but we were notified by the county, and I double-checked, and they confirmed it. Yes, we have $24,000 more. The thing about it is, it has to be spent before June 30th. We're prepared to do that by spending the money on the sea oats and fertilization project that we currently have in place, and it would just be expanding that. So this money would be spent by June 30th, and this is a recommended budget amendment to show the $24,000 as a revenue coming in and the $24,000 as an expense going out, and that designated line for grass planting on the beach. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions.
Any questions about that? It's more paperwork than anything else, but it's still a blessing to find the extra $24,000 show up for our benefit. Need a motion to approve this budget amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'll turn the meeting over to our town manager this time for the discussion of the budget and the budget message.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm pleased to present to you tonight my proposed budget for the town for the fiscal year 2014-15. This budget was developed after several meetings, not only of the Finance Committee, but also of the Town Council in a workshop, and of course, preliminarily meetings with our department heads as required by state statute to consider the departmental budget request for the upcoming year. I'm pleased to inform you on the record that this proposed budget is balanced. It calls for no property tax increase, and it does not call for any contribution from the town's current undesignated fund balance. So again, no tax increase and no contribution from the town's undesignated fund balance in this particular proposed budget. A couple of highlights before I get into the summary of the revenues and expenses. The ad valorem taxes, which are our property taxes, comprise only 49% of the town's budget. The other 51%, as we'll see in a minute from the pie charts, are comprised mainly from the Dare County occupancy tax, land transfer, and sales tax, and other revenues that the town receives each year. I will comment that each year we look at the occupancy tax and land transfer tax and sales tax to see how we compare with other towns and how we shake out when the taxes, when those funds are distributed. And recall that it's based on a statutory formula, a local act formula that has been put into place years ago for the distribution of those funds for municipalities and Dare County. This year, because you did not go up on property taxes last year, and some other towns did, we were affected by a net reduction of about a half a penny's worth of revenue, which is around $60,000, that we would have received if we had actually increased taxes in a ratio equivalent to the other towns. Some of the other towns did increase because of their beach nourishment projects, And because of that, the net effect is that we were down about $60,000. Still, we took that into account and were able to balance the budget despite that. I'm also wanted to note that as far as capital improvements, we're following the trend that previous councils have adopted each year by putting in a certain amount of revenue to go towards capital improvement projects each year. In past years, that amount has been at least revenue equivalent to 3 cents of property value assessment. This year, the amount is 4.33 cents on the new values that were adopted January 1, 2013. If we compare that to, or create revenue neutral for that, under previous councils, before the January 1, 2013 revaluation, it's the equivalent of 3.14 cents worth of revenue. So we're following the trend, and we are at or above the previous year's contributions to capital improvements in this year's budget as well. I will note that we did, the council did sit in a budget workshop on April 15th, 2014, and also the Finance Committee met twice prior to this, as well as the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. And again, the typical meetings with my department heads were held in February and early March. To summarize the budget this year, the budget is $5,835,508 to deliver services to the citizens of Southern Shores. The first slide on the screen is general fund expenditures. Can we go to revenues first? Okay, so we'll go to revenues first on the pie chart. As I said previously, the blue pie piece there, 49% of revenues are derived from our property taxes or ad valorem taxes. The red represents the occupancy, sales tax, and land transfer taxes, and that is 32%. Again, that would have been, the total amount of that is $1.8 million. It would have been $60,000 higher had we increased taxes last year to accommodate for the offset from the other towns raising their taxes. The green pie chart, the unrestricted intergovernmental revenues, makes up 6% of our budget, and that is derived from various franchise taxes, utilities franchise tax, telecommunications tax, ABC revenues, and the solid waste disposal tax, so $334,300. The purple pie chart is 10% of the budget revenues, and that's from restricted intergovernmental revenues. The major one being our POW bill income for our public streets in the town of Southern Shores. Among those also are grant revenues as well. So that makes up 10%, and that is equal to $572,047. The last one that you see, the next to last, the little blue slice, 2% is permits and fees that we derive from our various permit issuances. That is made up of $97,000. And then finally, our 1% of other revenues are basically miscellaneous revenues, interest income, sale of recycling, rent, various rents and lease proceeds, and that is $96,900. So the total of all revenues for the town, being all the pie charts put together there, of course, $5,835,508. Going to the summary of our expenses for town, providing town services, is the next pie chart. And you can see the largest pie chart, the green, is the police department, providing police protection for the citizens of Southern Shores, makes up 25% of the entire town's budget. Police, which is $1.4 million. The next going clockwise, the purple slice is Public Works Department at 9%. That is a department created just for the administration and basic operations of Public Works. That is $508,787. The continuing around the clock, the light blue is our Streets, Bridges, and Canals Department. That's administered by Public Works, but we create a separate department for that, for accounting and auditing purposes. And that entire, and also, of course, the capital improvements are administered from there. That entire portion of expenditures is 24%. That's $1.4 million from the town's budget. Going to the next slice upward, sanitation services comprises 11% of the town's budget. And of course, sanitation is exactly what it is. It's garbage collection and recycling for the town of Southern Shores. $640,000. Our next slice is at the 11 o'clock position there, is 9% of the town's budget, and that's our fire services. This year, with the basic contract amount and your last contribution, the council's last contribution towards the 800 megahertz radio acquisition of the fire department several years ago, there's a total expenditure of $525,505 for fire contracted services. And the pink slice at the top, Ocean Rescue Contracted Service, that is for our beach lifeguard service. That makes up 3% of the total expenditures of the budget. That's $158,000 for this fiscal year. At the 1 o'clock position is the administration department. That is of course, the operations of town hall and administrative services, including the employees, and that makes up 16% of the town's total budgeted expenses at $923,705. And the last piece of the pie is code enforcement department at the 2 o'clock position, and that makes up 3% of the town's budget and just under $200,000 for the year to provide that total service. So at the budgeted amount, the entire expenses for the town, $5,835,508 to budget this budget for to balance this budget for the year. Also included in the proposed budget are two other, what we just went through is the general fund, and also included in the budget, which will be online tomorrow morning on the website for public inspection, is the cemetery, the town's cemetery fund, which is at the end of the general fund sheets when it goes online. The cemetery fund currently, if adopted for the year, this budget, the cemetery fund would have a balance of $43,752. What I am proposing is for to show revenues coming from that fund for the year of $10,180 for cemetery operations, and also $1,000 from the sale of cemetery lots, making a total revenues for the operations of the cemetery of $11,180. The expenses for the cemetery are proposed as the seasonal labor, and also beautification items, and also the continuation of our mapping of the plots, which would be the software license that we pay each year to keep the plot mapping online. So the total budget for the cemetery fund for the year is proposed at $11,180. And the last budget that I'm proposing to you is the Capital Reserve Fund. This year, the Capital Reserve Fund, at direction of the council during planning, will show a revenue of $20,000. and that is for the expense of channel and canal maintenance. And recall that the council's interest in that is that we create this sub-fund account within the capital reserve fund for channel and canal maintenance to be able to build upon that each year. So that showing is $20,000 into the capital reserve fund. And of course, just a reminder, under state law, capital reserve fund is just that. Once we put money in it, it has to be used for those particular items. We cannot just draw it out and use it for something else. And those are the three budgets that I proposed to you tonight. They will go on the town website tomorrow, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. And we will be always glad to sit down with anybody who comes in town hall, any citizen, to explain any line or what any line represents. And I would propose that the public hearing on the budget be set for the first meeting in June, which I believe is June the 3rd, Tuesday, June the 3rd.
Yeah, June the 3rd. I need a motion, council, to schedule that public hearing for June 3rd to discuss the budget further or to pass the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Any questions? Peter? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll schedule a public hearing for Tuesday, January the 3rd, our next council
June
meeting. We
3rd.
will not have a council meeting.
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
That's what I say.
January.
That wasn't too bad. You think about that.
Only 6 months
I'm
out.
looking ahead. Way too far ahead. June, I'm sorry, I just, my writing's not very good. June the 3rd. Thank you. I think that takes care of it as far as this, the public hearing is concerned. Under other items, town manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council. For my manager's report tonight, I'd like to report on several announcements. One is North Carolina Department of Transportation still tells us that the north span of the Wright Memorial Bridge will open on May 15th. I haven't been told anything different, but that's the target date, both lanes. So that's not our latest information from what I have. I'd also like to just remind that our Lifeguard Services will commence this month. Again, the middle of this month, the ATV roving protection will begin, and 2 hard stands will go up Memorial Day weekend, one at Chickahawk and the other at Hillcrest. And then the weekend that most schools get out in June, the middle of June, the other 2 hard stands will go up, one at Triangle Park and the other at East Dogwood. So I'm happy to also report to you that our Lifeguard Service will have a representation here at the June meeting to introduce to council the new lifeguards. So they will be here dressed in uniform at the June meeting. Also happy to announce, I'm informed by Chief Cole that we do have a community resource officer engaged. His department does for the summer, and he will be starting along those same lines very shortly as well. So that's we will have a full complement of beach protection and beach administration this year. Tomorrow at 5:30 here in the Pitt Center, Piedmont Natural Gas will be putting on a presentation explaining the feasibility analysis that they go through to determine whether or not it's economical for that public utility to extend distribution lines in a residential area, primarily, of course, Southern Shores. And they will explain to anybody who comes what that is, how they make that determination, and they'll show where the lines currently are in Southern Shores and what the probability and possibility is that those lines could be extended. Recall that we have one line going north on South Dogwood all the way to the Country Club, And we also have a little bit of a stub here on Trinity going in off of US 158. And it's what they have to make the determination of how much use could be committed within a certain distance of the end of those lines before they can make the decision to extend those lines. So it is a formula and a practice and a protocol that they go through, but Lauren Hill will be here from Piedmont at 5:30 tomorrow and we have publicized this the best we can. I think we've gotten the word out pretty well. Ms. Hill reports that she has had a lot of inquiry and a lot of response from the notices.
5:30 p.m., May the 8th. Notice I said May, not January.
Here in the Pitt Center.
Here in the Pitt Center. That's good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Also wanted to report to you, as you know, this was the first time that Southern Shores Precinct had early voting in Dare County. Pitt Center was used, and during the early voting period, there were 118 votes cast, and then on election day, yesterday, there were 511 votes cast at this voting site. So it was relatively busy compared to the other sites. Also wanted to report to you, I did send each of you a notice, but just reporting again to you at this meeting, we have sent out our annual private street notice letter to the associations in town, reminding that private streets are treated differently during FEMA pickup if there is a declared storm. Town of Southern Shores can't pick those up and hope to get reimbursed from FEMA. So for that matter, those private streets, we remind the owners of the private streets that they must make arrangements ahead of time if debris is left on the side of the road during the recovery period. And of course, that's not to include the initial 70-hour clearing by the fire department. The fire department will go through and do the clearing to either side, and then the owners of those private streets must either get them out to the public right-of-way or haul the debris themselves. And of course, in the notice, we also remind, yes, there are times when FEMA will grant waivers. The waivers typically don't come until a month or two down the road, if they come at all. So we have joined in with Dare County to obtain waivers in the past on some storms, but it's not a guarantee. So I just wanted to, we do that each year so that there's no misunderstanding about private streets, because it seems like it always pops up when we're actually picking up on the public streets, and the owners on private streets, invariably there's some concern about why their street's not being picked up. As a final note, we do have on June the 4th here in Southern Shores, the celebration of National Run Day. It'll be the only National Run Day event in Dare County. It'll be held here on Wednesday morning, June the 4th at 6 a.m. So the run day will begin at the marketplace. We had about over 100 participants last year. The town is one of the sponsors, and hopefully y'all will be up to help us celebrate at 6 o'clock in the morning. And as a final note, I just wanted to, happy to announce that the town's official Facebook page now has over 1,000 likes. So we're getting a lot of business on Facebook and in our other mediums that we use to get the word out as well.
Good.
I'll be glad to try to answer any questions, but that's my report.
I don't have any.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Good job. I have a couple things. I'm sorry, Ben. I almost overlooked you.
It would have expedited the meeting just a slight bit because I don't have anything to report.
Thank goodness. I'd have felt really bad if you had a report.
No problem.
A couple of things I have just to share with you. Had a letter this past week from Centera Albemarle Medical Center. As you may know, Centera has combined with Albemarle Health, and they've now formed the Albemarle Health Centera Healthcare Partnership, taking over Albemarle Hospital, basically, or taking over part of the management of Albemarle Hospital, and that's going to reach into our community here at Regional Medical. We'll now have services provided by, as they are now, to some degree by Albemarle Hospital, but even to a greater extent when Centera comes in and works with them. And just want to make you aware of that, that should start it should start immediately because they took over this process on the 1st of March, and this just, they're ironing out some of the bugs and deciding who's going to do what, but they are going to be here in force where regional is now. The other thing I'd like to announce tonight is the fact that I'm, based on comments with, discussions with our town manager and also with Councilman Sanders, I have decided to form a public safety committee related to the operational concerns and issues of the fire department, police department, EMT, animal control, lifeguards. And I've asked David Sanders to join me on that committee and be able to meet at times as appropriate and then advise council the outcome of those meetings, which would, I think, expedite questions or issues that may come up over the next year and a half. And that's our plan. I've already decided asked David to serve with me, and he's agreed to do that. So we will have a public safety committee effective today. That's all I have. Thank you, Jody.
Nothing other than to say thank you to the staff for their fine work on the budget. And I would encourage everybody, the public, to take access, review it, look at it, and give us their comments. It's important. Thank you.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Larry?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
I just got two things. About 2 weeks ago, I participated in the Special Olympics for Dare County, which we had about 55 special between young people and adults participate in that program. And it was interesting. I've been doing it for about 3 years now to see how some of them, over time with their therapy and what have you, have improved. So, and it'll be there next year. It was at First Flight. So if any of you get an opportunity to come down and see those young people, even though they're challenged, they do enjoy participating in the sports. And one of the things that it was not announced, it just happened. There were 3. That was Biker Week, and there were 3 veteran VFW groups out of Virginia came and participated in it with them as a ride by behind the athletes, and they really got an enjoyment out of seeing the bikers. So that was that part. And the other thing I've got is next Wednesday, the 14th, the Red Cross is having a blood drive at Holy Redeemer. So if any of you want to participate in a donation of a pint of blood for life, it'll be there from 12 to 6. And they do have good food. That's all I got.
Thank you, Leo. With no further business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Dinner early.
Thank you for coming out this evening.